Hey everyone, it's Joe Waxman, and I'm back with another video. And today I want to talk about Sagittarius and Sagittarius Ascendant. All right, Sagittarius is number 9 on the charts. No, not on the charts, on the zodiac. And it is Mutable Fire, ruled by Jupiter. And it is the third fire sign and final fire sign. And so it occupies number 9 position. And let's look at that for a minute, because I always like to look at the numbers, as you may have noticed by now. Number 9 is really significant because there's so many associations. We can look at it like, well, how does it break? It's not a prime number. It breaks down to 3-3. And what is 3-3? Well, we've heard that one before, 33. It's the number of vertebrae. It's the master number of the Masons, the 33rd degree Mason. You ever heard of that? That's number 9. And that's not a coincidence. Nikola Tesla said the secret of the universe is in 3, 6, and 9, right? And we see that in 33, right? 3, 3, we have the 3 with 2 3s. 3 plus 3 is 6, and 3 times 3 is 9. All right. So 9 is a master number because it is composed of 3, 3, 33. Sagittarius is the sign of the master, the mastery. Okay, that is very significant. And just to get a better idea of what that really means, let's take a look. I'm going to share my screen. And voila. Okay. I mean, isn't that just a fantastic shape? This is the shape of Sagittarius. It's the shape of number 9. It's the shape of a nonogram, it's called. Right? 9 gram, 9 star. Okay? It's beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? It's just fantastic. Like, just feel it, get it. That's Sagittarius. The shape of Sagittarius. Okay? Here's another one. Nonagon. Nonagon. You probably never heard of that one before. This is what it looks like. 9-sided, equal-sided shape. All right. Now, if we just do a search for 3 triangles, because Sagittarius is 3 times 3, we get all different shapes. And I couldn't just pick one, so I just wanted you to look. All of these in some way represent a Sagittarian kind of image. Just getting a feel for it, 3 triangles. And what can you do with 3 sets of 3? Well, you can juggle them. So I used to juggle in high school, and you start with 3 balls. So this notion of juggling is very much the way in parallel, in line with the Sagittarian mind and the way it's thinking. It's having several balls in the air at once, and in the juggling motion. It's very high-minded, very complicated, very philosophical, right? We're getting a little more complex, a lot more complex with Sagittarius than we have been. Okay, and here's another one. This is called the magic square, and it's a universal thing. Some people will say, oh, it's Freemasons. It's actually it's universal, but they had it in Japanese 9-key. I was familiar with this long time ago. This is the 5 chart, 5 basic chart, and any way you add it up, it equals to 15. So in Japanese astrology, they have 9 ki, composed of 9 numbers. 9 is the final number, so it's 1 through 9, and we have the digits are 1 through 9 plus 0 equals 10, right? But 0 is 0 digit. Well, I mean, maybe, sure, why not? But anyway, the number digits are 1 through 9. That's very significant. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my screen. So we have all that as a basis for Sagittarius to think about. And it's mutable fire, right? So here we have the fire that's adaptable, changeable. And I like to think of it, in terms of like a forest fire, if you will. where it's just wild and free and just blazing out of control. Like if Aries is the initiating spark, almost like a flamethrower, right? If you will, like it's a much more there'll be a much more intense version of Aries versus a spark, but it's that initiating fire. And then Leo is the fixed fire, so it's like a furnace or the sun or something that's contained, but that's just burning all the time, like a lantern. And then you have the mutable fire, which is the fire that's uncontained. It's out of control. It's just doing whatever it wants. It's wild and free. So you have forest fire is one example. Or, I mean, another more tame example could be like a campfire, a bonfire. Yeah, it's contained, but it's much less, much more wild and free spirited because you're in the wilderness or you're outside. And there's not like it's not like a furnace. It has a different feeling to it. So something like that, you could, get an idea for it. Ruled by Jupiter, the gas giant, the biggest planet in our solar system, excluding the sun because that sun's not a planet, but you could fit all the actual planets inside of Jupiter. That's how big it is. So yeah, Sagittarius is number 9, the master number, and it has the association of 33. So 33 is number 9. It is Sagittarius. It is the master. So 33rd degree Mason, that's number 9. That's Sagittarius. Okay. So because Sagittarius is the sign of the master, they are naturally teachers and preachers. And we all know Sagittarians, they have a tendency to teach and preach. And sometimes they're just plain blunt. They can just say stuff like that, whatever they're thinking. They're just like blunt, like just saying it like out, and it can come off, like unsolicited advice, although that can be Virgo too, but it can be Sagittarius. And it can come off rude sometimes, but I mean, it's just part of their nature. And it's, once you understand that, it's kind of acceptable. Although there's, if it's a more self-aware, evolved Sagittarius, they're probably going to have, curb that tendency somewhat. They're very philosophical, very high-minded, very religious, or if not religious, then philosophical. And their minds are like top heavy, if you will. Whereas like Taurus and Gemini are like bottom heavy, right? Sagittarius are top heavy. They can build, their castles in the sky sort of thing. And whether or not they have a foundation, that's probably irrelevant. It's not really even about that. Taurus will come along and say, well, where's your foundation? Where's the facts? Where's the data? Where's the numbers to back all this up? And Sagittarius will be like, who cares? We're in the sky, we're in the clouds, we're in philosophy, we're in religion. It's not really about that, whether it is or isn't, that's not what we're talking about here. We're just talking about the Sagittarian paradigm, Sagittarian way of going about things. God can be very, the idea of God or the understanding of God can be very important to Sagittarius because it's the high thinking, and whether we're talking about religion or philosophy, or even just like, like grad school, that could be like a topic like, what is God? Does God even exist? Existentialism, all the philosophies, they belong to Sagittarius, and faith as well. Faith in God or a higher power or the order of the universe, or just faith that things are going to be okay. That's there's the saying, if everything is not, if all is not well, then it's not over. I'm paraphrasing. That's probably not how it's actually said, but if things are not good, then it's not the end. Something like that. Sagittarius rules long distance travel, of course. We all know that. Traveling to other countries, adventures. They're gonna want to exercise their their need for adventure and travel, and culture and entertainment. That's entertainment for them. They're high-minded, they're spirited, they're upbeat. They got Jupiter, so they're naturally Jupiterian, right? Big and high-spirited, adventurous, and they always got the. I like to say they got the swag, you know. And I want to snap my fingers whenever I do that because that's just what it feels like to me. They have that vibe, that cool vibe, and if you do like a poll among, I know because this happened, like a poll among astrologers, like which sign is the coolest of all signs? I said Virgo because my mind works that way because I think of like actual literal temperature, and I think Virgo is actually like the coolest temperature in because I'm very mercurial temperature wise, but everyone else is like Sag, and Sag is a fire sign, so it's not cool at all. So like I'm like thinking like these people don't have logical brains, but anyway, if you ask, you know, the masses in astrology, they'll say Sag is the coolest because they're thinking not in the term, not in the literal sense that I think in, because I'm so mercurial. You know, Mercury rules my sun, Venus, and moon. They're thinking in a abstract sense, right? So Sag is cool to them, even though Sag is hot. It's fire. It's Jupiter, right? But anyway, but that's because it has the swag. It's got the cool factor, right? They can be very lucky because that's naturally what Jupiter and Sagittarius kind of represent, that upbeat, and in a way that makes sense because we get back what we put out, and Sagittarius is constantly putting out this Jupiterian high vibe positivity thing, and so they're getting that back, and so that translates as luck, being lucky in life, right? They're natural teachers, but they're not the teachers. Like I think the two best teachers, well, I mean, anyway, Sagittarius is a natural teacher, but they're going to be like the higher minded teacher. Taurus is also a teacher, but they're going to be more a teacher on the mundane level. And then, you know, of course, Gemini's the student, but they can also teach because natural communication. Virgo, Leo, because they love to be on stage. Anyway, like I said, they can be very blunt, outspoken, free-spirited, because they can't be contained. This is post, this is the sign after Scorpio. So it's like after they're battle hardened by Scorpio, and they're, you know, like just, you know, fighting the scorpionic fight, you know, Scorpio's fighting their own demons, right? The Sagittarius has like all that strength from Scorpio, and now they're just like, you know, let's live life to the fullest, and let's be free, and let's, you know, let's go out there and have a fantastic, wonderful time, and just, you know, live life to the max. So they can't be contained. They're totally free spirits. They're very chill. They're very detached. They don't want to be tied down because they are mutable fire. They got the active, brilliant mind, although it's very high-minded, and that can have a tendency to be less practical. You know, sometimes philosophies are not practical. They're not. This is not Taurus. You know, it's not even Gemini or Aries. It's way up in the clouds, and they don't necessarily want to be practical. They just want to be, you know, high-minded, philosophical, adventurous, free spirits. You know, totally upbeat. Alchemy is very much a Sagittarian thing, although we could relate it to Scorpio because Scorpio is still water, and in still water we have the fermentation, you know, the bubbling up of, you know, poison or medicine or, you know, something in between. But alchemy also, because of the master, number 9, 3 times 3, 333 element, which is very much related to the alchemical process. They are post-Scorpio, so they've sort of mastered the alchemy that we learn in Scorpio. All right, so that's basically it, and that's really the key to this is the post-Scorpio. That's really why they're the master. In Scorpio, we're learning the mastery of all the things that we are a master in Sagittarius, right? We're learning about the occult. We're learning about all the secrets. And in Sagittarius, we're mastering it. All right. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go into the Ascendant to learn even more secrets about Sagittarius. And for this chart, I chose Robert Plant because he's such a Sagittarian and he's got Jupiter in Sag on the Ascendant. Super, I think it's even stationary. He's got a fantastic chart, fantastic. All right. And if he's not a Sagittarian representative, then I don't know who is. I mean, he is. You know, he's just got that chill vibe of Sagittarius. So Sagittarius on the Ascendant is everything I just said. And Capricorn in the second house. So yes, second house deals with wealth and self-worth, but they're going to be very authoritarian about all of those things. And second house is also knowledge. It's the mental assets as well, which translates as knowledge. It's all the things that we learn, all the data, the facts, the wealth of gained knowledge is the second house. So they're going to be very hardworking in the accumulation of knowledge. They're going to be very authoritarian in their knowledge, right? This is the sign of Capricorn that is the most wanting to work hard and accumulate and achieve success. So Sagittarians have a tremendous wealth of knowledge in their mind, ruled by Capricorn. Like, don't underestimate a Sagittarius's ability to have, you know, volumes and volumes of knowledge to back up their philosophy. You know, they can be very authoritarian, very masterful, very leadership oriented and working extremely hard towards that end. And of course, Saturn is going to make them work hard for all that and their self-worth and their money. And it's going to come in time. It's not just going to be there when they're young. They're going to have to work for it. They're going to have to work their butt off to get there, but they will, because Saturn will make them if they ever want to live out to their full potential. But their full potential is tremendously knowledgeable, right? Saturn makes experts out of things. Third house is Aquarius. So their friends and siblings are going to be unique, weird, scientific. Third house is also the hood, right? Short distance travel, streets. So the place where they choose to live could be very, very unique. They could up and move to some like weird town that nobody's ever heard of. It could be like, who knows where, just some strange place, you know, that they're like, oh my God, I want to live there. And everyone's like, why? That's such a weird place. And they're like, it's awesome. You know, who knows why? Aquarius is just the sign of the rebel, the uniqueness, and it's very independent. So here they're going to be very independent, and they're with their intellect, because third house is intellect. Their communication can be, their expression can be very eccentric, out of the box, unusual. They can be very scientific here, because Aquarius is fixed air and it's very scientific, and third house is the intellect. So yeah, like that. They're gonna want, yeah, they're gonna have some unusual neighborhoods to live in, and friends and neighbors and siblings. Pisces in the fourth house. Well, naturally, their home can be very spiritual, very creative, but it could also be like a boat on the river or on the ocean or something, because Pisces is water, or Pisces is foreign lands and exotic places. So they could live in India, you know, that would also go along with Aquarius third house. You know, they might want to live, they might choose to live in very exotic spiritual places, or just foreign places in general, because Pisces can rule that. Or like I said, water. They might want to live on the water, in the water, near the water, somewhere around water. And they might decorate their home with spiritual kind of things or art or very unusual fantasy kind of things, stuff like that. Aries in the fifth house. These are natural sports people. Fifth house can deal with like fun and games and creativity. And Aries is the most physical. Aries is the most initiatory. So like fighting for them can be a game. If they're going to fight, it's going to be fun. They're going to train in martial arts and mixed martial arts and wrestling and boxing or in sports or in some competition. They're going to be very competitive in games. They're going to be very competitive with their children. They're going to push their children hard. They're going to want to go on adventures with their children, being very physical. They're going to have a hands-on approach with their children. And very airy and very, initiatory, like, let's go, let's go, let's go. They can be coaches. They can be, like a sportsman, like I said. And if they're fighting, they're going to want it to be in a sportsman, like in a game setting. Because sixth house is Taurus. So naturally, Taurus is not much of a fighter, believe it or not. It can fight, but it doesn't like to fight. It likes to stay calm. It likes to stay peaceful. And here, if you get them really angry, they're either going to want to turn it into a competition of sports, or they're just going to keep it mental and intellectual and argue with their immense knowledge, and they'll just beat you down with facts and logic and data. That's only if you really get them, if you really corner them and pin them, because they're not going to want to. But if you do, they're just going to be like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to completely destroy you with all the facts and knowledge and data that I have, because that's where Taurus intellect lies. But if you make them fight physically, then they're going to become very, it's going to become a competitive sport for them, a game, right? But otherwise, they can be great chefs too, because the sixth house is the house of mundane activities, and that also involves cooking. And Taurus here naturally has the most developed sense of taste and sensory senses, so they can make excellent chefs. They can make excellent daily, mundane, like coordinator, designer, like they can decorate their home really nice. Anything having to do with mundane, regular daily work. They can work in beauty, in fashion, in cooking, anything having to do with the money or the senses, arts. That could be all of their daily routine and day jobs and things like that. But they're not going to, these are not natural, although they are warriors. Their fighting is more on a competitive game-like setting. They're going to want to have fun with it. They're not going to want to actually fight like Scorpio will, right? So it's different. Their seventh house is Gemini, and so they're natural like flirts and socially. They're all over the place. Excellent communication, love intellectual connections. They don't want to be tied down, because Gemini is very non-committal until it really finds what it loves. It's not saying it can't commit. So like Gemini, they need to fall in love. They need to have real love in order for them to commit. Otherwise, they're not going to want to commit. They're not going to, I always think about that Nelly Furtado song, I'm like a bird, only fly away. She's a Sagittarius. And sorry, I did not do that justice, but that's okay. Forgive me. They're going to fly away. They're like birds, and they're going to fly away. They're like people riding horses with bows and arrows. They're going to run away on their horseback. So because they are the centaur, and you will not catch them, you will not keep them down, but you will if you can have fun with them, because both Sagittarius and Gemini are incredibly fun and interesting and entertaining, then you can keep them for a long time. And if you keep them long enough, then you can get them to commit, because Taurus is in the 12th house of Gemini. So that's why it just takes Gemini a really long time to commit. It's the slow Taurus in the 12th. But you can catch them. It's just you got to have lots of fun with them, go on adventures, be incredibly intelligent and entertaining and funny, and you'll keep them over a long period of time. Yeah. Cancer is in the 8th. So this is not like Scorpio where Gemini's in the 8th. They're not going to have the intellectual understanding of the occult. But remember I said that they were the post-occult. They were already the master. So they don't need it, essentially, because this is more about, and they don't have it, but this is more about feeling, right? Cancer is about emotions, about the heart. And so in the 8th house, it's very deeply felt. So like intimacy and sex are going to be very emotionally moving for the Sagittarius. They're going to keep this part of themselves secret and hidden. It's not something, because it's a water house and it's a water sign, so it's very hidden. And you're not going to find out about, their deep inner heart unless you become intimate with the Sagittarius. Then only after a long time will they open up to you and reveal their true feelings, which are very, very deep and passionate, because this is water on water. So it's not an intellectual water like Scorpio. Scorpio has that intellectual quality. Sagittarius has just the very deep hidden feeling, very, very emotional on the deep level, and pain and crisis and death really affect them on a deep way. They're very emotional. And like I said, they were unattached, but actually they can be very attached deep inside. It's just that they have that duality of being very unattached. But once they commit with the Taurus here in the Gemini's 12th, then they become very deep feeling, very attached, very emotional, very loving. You don't think of Sagittarius like that, but they have that capacity to be really, really deep feeling. And also intuition, psychic intuition is enhanced by this as well. Depending on what planets are here, they can have very high heightened intuition and sense of feeling, psychicness, psychic qualities can be very high in Sagittarius. Leo in the 9th house. I mean, this is where they shine. This is where their light is, the house of philosophy, the house of religion. This is where they can become famous. They can teach, they can preach, they can be, college professors. They all have the same vibe, whether you're preaching in religion or you're a guru or you're teaching in college or you're, learning in college and then you teach in college. That's all very Sagittarian. So this is where we gain mastery, right? Number 9, 33. This is the master house and the master sign, and this is where they can gain fame, recognition, be on stage, get the spotlight. This is where they can shine the most. This is where they can be creative, and this is where their natural leadership potential is. This is where their kingship is in the 9th house. Virgo in the 10th house. Their careers are always going to take a lot of work, a lot of intellectual work, but it's very intellectual, very, very smart. They can do anything mercurial: writing, speaking, managing, organizing, editing, delegating, health, anything to do with health and sickness, conflict resolution, pets. It's very well-rounded, very communication oriented, and very intellectual. All the careers that involve the intellect will be excellent for the Sagittarius. And this here we can see also their powerful intellect with Virgo in the 10th house. Because 10th house is where we gain the most recognition, where we can be recognized the most. 10th house and wherever Leo is. 11th house is Libra. So naturally, they're great in social situations because Libra is such a social sign. It's very well balanced. You know, loves peace, justice, relationships. They're great with all kinds of relationships, every relationship. Libra's great with business and sales and marketing and networking. So here they can do excellent things with all of that. They can be business leaders. They can sell. They can be great at selling things, especially when it comes to like networking in groups, you know, internet marketing, all of that sort of thing. They'll do very, very well in groups, and they're very open socially. They're open to having lots of friends, and with the air signs and air houses, they're going to have excellent time, you know, socially. Huge ease of social graces. With Scorpio in the 12th house, now this is really where the deep, intense spiritual motivation comes from, because here we have water in the water houses, right? Because fire in the fire houses, water in the water houses, air in the air houses, earth in the earth houses. There's an incredible drive for spiritual growth, because Scorpio represents the evolution of the soul, the impetus, the deep, excuse me, it's my lunch coming up. The deep transformation for growth and evolution through pain and crisis. With Scorpio in the 12th house, Scorpio is the most intense sign, and when it's hidden in the 12th house, that's one of the things that make them so chill on the surface. But that's why everyone thinks they're so cool. Like, yeah, Sagittarius, all right, you know, and they are. But underneath, they're very intense, and they got this deep, powerful spiritual motivation that drives them forward. And this is actually what drives them to be so adventurous, because they've gone through the Scorpio trials. You know, they've exercised their demons, and this is the sign of the master. Remember, Sagittarius, and don't let that go to your head, Sagittarians. I mean, it's you know, all the signs have their you know, specialty, but it is what it is. I mean, this is the sign of the master. So, like I was saying, the Scorpio intensity is going towards pushing them to live life to its fullest, and that's why they're so adventurous. It's like getting out of jail when you get out of Scorpio, because Scorpio is such a war, it's such a battle. So they're battle hardened, and they've come out of the war victorious. And so it's like getting out of jail, like getting out of a fight and surviving. You're like, oh, now I have to go live life, you know? And that's what they're doing. And they've mastered all the trials and tribulations and fighting that happened in Scorpio. And so they're so smart and intelligent, intellectual and adventurous, and they're just full of joy and the exuberance that you get after a huge trial, a huge battle. And so they're celebrating. So Sagittarius is kind of a celebration. It's one big celebration in Sagittarius, and they're like, thank God, you know, like we survived Scorpio. Now let's go travel and live life and party. And did I forget partying? I mean, I must have forgotten partying, because Sagittarians are the partiers, one of the partiers. I mean, they're probably they have the biggest spirit of partying, whether they're, you know, drinking, you know, doing drugs or not. And I don't recommend that, but that does happen with Sagittarius. But the celebration, the partying is very strong with Sagittarius, because they're coming out of Scorpio, and that's their inner motivation, the Scorpio. That's why they live life to the fullest. That's why they don't want to be tied down. That's why they want to go on adventures. And that's why they're so optimistic. All right. So that is all about Sagittarius and Sagittarius Ascendant. And again, this can be applied to any planet with Sagittarius, because you can always make a chart out of that planet. I don't care if it's Venus in Sagittarius. I don't care if it's, you know, Saturn in Sagittarius, Neptune in Sagittarius, whatever. You can make a chart out of that planet and put it on the ascendant, and then you will see how it relates to everything else, and you'll get the same things. You will get all the houses lining up the way I just said. So that's pretty much it, guys. So if you like this, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share if you haven't already. And go to my website, macroastrology.com, to book a reading. And that's it for now. Thanks, guys. Bye.